Here we are with Overwatch This. I'm Jeff from the Overwatch team.
Oh my goodness, YouTube. The cavalry's here, and welcome to an extremely special episode of Overwatch This. Not only because I'm sitting in the host seat, obviously that's the most important thing, we have a very special guest with us. It's Jeff from the Overwatch team. Kaplan, how are you, sir?
I'm doing awesome.
He's over here for the BAFTAs, that's correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you looking forward to that? Is that going to be a good time?
I'm a little terrified. I was telling the guys earlier, I feel like I somehow jinxed our chances by even having the nerve to get on a plane and come to London and think that we might even win one of these awards.
It might be possible, yeah. Well, you're up for 4 categories, is that correct?
I think so. I haven't even looked.
Okay, right. You're just like, I'm just going to show up.
Yeah.
And then if they ask me to go on stage, I guess I'll do that and then head on up. So you've had a few of these now over the last year. What's it been like the first year of Overwatch for you, and in terms of, the reaction and the amount of applause you've got and that sort of thing?
I think it's been pretty awesome. I mean, the thing that has meant the most to me is our team went through a lot. We went through a canceled project. And the dedication and loyalty of the people on the team to stick around and see it through and come up with a vision that so many people fell in love with was just spoke so highly of everybody working on the team, spoke to sort of their character.
Yeah.
So to see them get nominated for awards or even win awards just makes me feel so good. It makes me feel like the right thing was rewarded and their loyalty and dedication paid off.
Is it nice to see, because I feel like Overwatch is a very hopeful game, and when particularly there was interviews with Chris Metzen after he quit and the talk you did at DICE, we're talking about, the team was quite down and we felt this was a final chance. All of that together and then coming forward and it actually being a success, do you feel that was the happy ending that you could hope for?
Yeah, I was talking to one of our producers, a guy named Matt Hawley, he and I have worked together for, probably over 10 years now. And we were talking about sort of the cycle we went through from the canceled project to shipping Overwatch. And for us, there was this moment of shipping Overwatch that felt like the completion of the circle. Like we had finally come full circle, and there was sort of this closure moment. And we thought we were done at that point. Like we had done it, we had accomplished what we had hoped to accomplish, and it turned out better than we imagined. And what was weird is the year just kind of got away from us. Like the game took off and a lot of people really responded to it. And we're sitting at over 25 million players now. And we sort of won a bunch of these awards. And I was talking to Matt about it, and I said, we thought we had done the circle, and I guess there was a little bit more to go on that. And boy, it feels good.
I've heard some developers talk about when they do a soft launch, which Overwatch sort of did. You had the open beta and you had the closed beta for a long time before. That they didn't even really notice when it launched. It was just like, oh, keep going. With you guys, was it a bit different because it suddenly had, particularly on console, this huge kind of explosion?
Yeah, it was, and our launch was a lot of fun. I think worldwide we kind of celebrated the launch in a lot of fun ways. We put those colossal collectibles all over the world, which we managed to fit Tracer back in the office.
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
We had to take her out of the box. The box would not fit in.
What's the point?
And the box was the coolest part of that. But so Tracer's back home. I think Farah's on a beach somewhere in Korea. I
That's
literally
brilliant.
think, yeah. And I think Genji ended up in our Versailles office or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe Cork, Ireland. I'm not sure. But I don't know. It was a very overwhelming launch, a very exciting launch. The beta had been awesome in terms of player feedback, but we kept it closed beta. We only did that open beta for a week. So when the game went live, I think a lot of us, we were used to when we play Overwatch, we recognize everybody in the match. Oh, there's that guy again. And
I remember I would always see like streamers and stuff that I'd heard of, and I'd be like, oh, it's him again, or it's him again.
And it was very regular that you'd get into matches with these guys. But when the game went live, it just kind of got away from us at that point and became so big that you sort of lost that. But the awesome part was that this whole new audience came into it. What felt like before like this very insider thing suddenly belonged to this massive community who was just super passionate, and they just loved it in new and unique ways we never imagined.
Coming more to the present day of Overwatch, are you still playing every day?
Every day. Well, I'm not playing here. I don't have a laptop.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Right, we'll get you sorted later on. Don't worry about it.
Nice.
So what are you playing at the moment? Who are you enjoying most on, perhaps maybe not in the office, maybe you can't talk about that.
I play, well, I do a mix of quick play and competitive is what I'm doing the most of right now. Focusing a lot more on competitive in Season 4 than I've done in previous seasons.
Time to climb those ranks, Jeff. You need to...
Yeah, well, I went on a 9-game losing streak last week. Actually, it was 2 weeks ago. 9-game losing streak, and I lost 500 skill rating during that. So that was brutal.
From 5,000 down to 4,500, right?
Yes, yeah, totally. I'm only ranked 250 in the world now, but it's rough. But I've been having a lot of fun with that. I play a lot of tanks in competitive, mostly because a lot of other people don't play tanks, and you sort of have to. I'm one of those people who will play whatever is needed. So I play a lot of tanks and support. I do people think I was joking about this. I do whenever it's Hanamura and my team's on defense. I will play Hanzo. It is the funnest thing ever.
It's all dedicated to the Hanzo mains, the whole everything.
Yes, yes. It absolutely, it's a blast. People give Hanzo mains a rough time, but the other day I was in competitive, and this guy locks Hanzo right off the bat. Before I had even loaded in the match, there's just Hanzo sitting there.
And you're like, okay, all right.
Well, I was playing with my wife, and my wife is like, oh, geez, it looks like this guy's going to play Hanzo, and nobody else had locked in characters. And that guy was the most amazing guy in the match, and he was top elimination. He just clearly carried us, and I think it's one of those cases of I'm glad everybody didn't tilt right away. Nobody
That's
said
the worry,
a word
right?
to this guy.
Yeah.
Because you know how it is. Sometimes immediately everybody starts chipping away at each other, but it was just super positive, super awesome match.
Because you didn't get to play Hanzo in that case.
It wasn't Hanamura.
Yeah, so it was fine.
Yeah, we would have had a problem if it was Hanamura and I'm on defense.
Just get on the voice chat and be like, listen, if you want your account stayed the way it is, that's all I'm saying. I'm not threatening anything. I'm just saying. So you say you're playing a lot of tanks.
Yeah.
How have you found Arisa? How's the team found Arisa? A few days after, a couple of weeks after launch now.
I think she's awesome. I think she's a beast. She has so much versatility. It's really nice to have a tank that can shoot things at long range. You can actually, you can put some pressure back on Pharah as a tank. If you play someone like Reinhardt, there's not a lot you can
fire strike them, but your chance of hitting is fairly low.
You're kind of trying to find that apex, is her shift down or whatever. But I think she's been great. I've seen some posts and I've read some articles that maybe she's underpowered, and I'm questioning that right now. She might be, and I don't want to say that she's not, but I'm questioning it. I'm watching because I study the behavior of players a lot.
Yeah.
And in a lot of the matches I'm in, I will see an insta-lock Arisa, and then I'll go and I'll look at the person's career profile. And a lot of the times I'm seeing DPS mains or support mains who just want to try the new hero.
Yeah.
And not that this is entirely fair, but I feel better when I see the tank mains lock her in and pass judgment than when I see people who don't play tanks in general. I think people who don't play tanks, they'll lock a Reinhardt or a Diva, they'll dive 1v4 and say, why did I die?
I'm going to be invulnerable on the tank. Come on.
Yeah, and anybody who plays a lot of tanks knows
you just can't do that. Well, you don't press shift if you're playing Reinhardt. Just don't do it. Just stay away.
Yeah, totally. Actually, shift back to your support is what you should be doing
go
most
help
of the
them
time.
out. Yeah.
But I don't know. She might be a little underpowered, but I'm not convinced yet. And I think the versatility of her kit is pretty amazing right now. I think her ult is super powerful. And then her halt ability, that little mini graviton, is just the funnest thing ever. Pulling people off the high ground.
There's been some good Reddit gifs of that one.
I've seen that.
Was
I think
highlights.
one person so far has gotten 5 people into the well when there was a May wall.
Oh right!
Did you
wow!
see that
okay.
one?
Yeah, I think
it
I
was
did.
sort of a blind.
I saw a really great one on the on Oasis, but unfortunately it doesn't kill them. Obviously, when they go into that bit in the middle, but it got them all.
Oh,
off
that
the
was
point,
awesome! Then they took the point.
Yeah. So that was great. Speaking a little bit about feedback there, you guys have had the PTR for a long time. There's been kind of a bit of back and forth about how it should be used and that sort of thing. Where are you thinking about it as it is now? Are you still looking at ways to incentivize people to use it more, or do you think it's just never going to work as a balancing test ground?
Well, I think the PTR totally works. And I've said this before, the primary thing we're trying to get out of PTR is stability. Just is the game crashing?
Yeah.
Is there some weird issues, performance issues that we can optimize before the build goes live? the feedback, I would like to, I more think of it as I would like to reward people for playing on the PTR more than I would like to incentivize people to play on the PTR. I know it's
Sure. So like if you go there anyway, here's something, but please don't go there if you don't want to.
Yeah, like we've always wanted to figure out how can we just like transfer EXP over, you know, because we know people are missing out on like leveling up and getting loot boxes and that sort of thing.
I have exactly that problem because I go on the PTR, I play like probably more there than I do normally because I'm doing it for work and I'm trying to find new stuff, take a bit of footage, and then my actual account is like super low level.
You kind of wish it would that progress.
Exactly, yeah.
So I would like to figure that out someday. The truth is the feedback from the PTR is really hard to parse. And I think a lot of that is because of the behaviors that we see on the PTR. So an example of a behavior is, let's say we tweak a hero, like, I don't know, we make a change to Widowmaker back here. What we'll have then is a bunch of people will log in and play Widowmaker. Maybe they never play Widowmaker. And they'll usually play, the average play times are extremely low. So they'll log in for one match, they'll play the Widowmaker changes, and then they'll post a bunch of feedback on the forums. And it's not that that feedback's not valid, it's just...
It's not as useful as Widowmaker main.
Yes, and we don't always have the context there. The other thing that we'll see that'll happen is somebody like will make a Widowmaker change, then you'll go to the PTR, and someone will try to lock Widowmaker, but you lock Widowmaker instead. And now I just wanted to check out the Widowmaker change, and let's say I'm normally a support main, like I normally play Mercy, but I wanted to check out Widowmaker. I didn't get her. Well, I'll go ahead and I'll just try Diva because that sounds like fun.
Right,
I'm here.
sure.
And you end up with these weird team comps, people not really playing what they want. The matches are really lopsided. The leaving is really
there's a lot of it,
crazy on the PTR. So we take PTR really with a grain of salt in terms of balanced feedback. The players will comment too. They'll say, my mythical Widowmaker changes I'm talking about. All that there's going to be is threads on the forum saying like, he's
One of these
lying,
Widowmaker.
There's no Widowmaker, we've been begging for it. But the other thing we'll see is half the people will say, oh my God, if you put Widowmaker live, she's going to be so horribly broken and overpowered. And then the other half the people will say, she's so underpowered, this is terrible, I can't believe you think this is the changes.
Particularly because your change is usually, it isn't a straight buff. It's like a rework of some kind.
Yeah, it's a little retweak. And then what will happen is, you know, of course, we'll either make the change or we won't make the change. And half the audience will be right.
Yeah.
And then they'll claim like, well, we all said this on the PTR and you didn't listen to us. And a lot of the times it's like, well, you could look at half the threads that said the exact opposite thing.
Yeah, with 25 million players, the majority is everyone sounds like the majority because everyone agrees with everyone.
Everybody's screaming at us all the time, pretty much.
When it comes to the community, like, I mean, you have a lot of interaction with them personally. How did that come about? Like you kind of very much being the face of the game, at least, you know, during the start of it. I think it's developed slightly since then. But is that something you had to discuss with your community managers, or was it just you going, right, I'm going to do this, I think this will be really healthy?
Well, I always appreciated, I was a very vocal player back when I used to play games. I was very involved.
I've read some of those forum threads.
Okay, so yeah, I played a lot of EverQuest, and I didn't always feel like in the games that I was really passionate about, I didn't always feel that the developers, not only did I feel sometimes like developers weren't listening, I actually questioned based on decisions that were being made, like, do these people actually play their game? You know, I got the sense of, you know, maybe people had created something but never really experienced it through the player's view. And it's not that I want to say, this sounds too dramatic to say I felt like abandoned or something as a player, but I just felt like I always wished that there was a more open line of communication. And when it came to working on World of Warcraft, I used to be pretty prolific about posting on the forums and interacting with people. Mostly just communication, letting them know we're here. It's less about like, hey, can I answer every thread? And more about if I answer a thread a day, at least they know that we're here reading. Like that they're not just posting all these other threads in a vacuum, that somebody's actually here reading this stuff that they're writing because it's important. When it came to the developer updates, we had seen a video that Ben Brode had done
Yeah, I
from the
remember.
Hearthstone
Yeah.
team. I think he just used like his like
He
little.
did it like at home.
Yeah, it's like on his phone, and he's like at home, and I don't know if he has cats, but if he does, they're like walking in the background and stuff. And our community manager, Stephanie Johnson, said to me, "Hey, have you seen this video that Ben did?" And she linked it to me, and I hadn't seen it. And I'm like, "Wow, that seems super awesome." And then she asked me, "Would you feel comfortable doing that?" And I thought it was a great way to just try to be as transparent with people as possible, like just talk to them as if they were on our team, or talk to them as if they were, somebody who was just like literally sitting in the room with us of, here's what's going on with the game. I know I can't tell you everything you want to hear exactly how you want to hear it, but this is the state of things right now.
Have you found that the response has been really good to that? And do you think, because I mean, the Battle.net forums can be quite angry. I think Reddit's a little friendlier, but that's perhaps due to the way the different systems work. But do you think that it's helped with that, and that things might be worse if it wasn't for that level of community interaction?
I think for sure. I mean, one, we try to give people as much new information as possible to like give them some insight.
That's what people really want. They might say they want balance changes, but if you just keep telling them something new, then
I think the gaming community more than ever now is very intelligent about games. It's not like games are a mystery to them. They don't know how they work. I mean, people have been playing games and analyzing games for a long time. And like the community, I'm not just talking about Overwatch community, but gaming community at large, their design acumen is higher than it's ever been before. So they appreciate when you explain why. I think a lot of times they're not always going to agree with decisions that you make, but if you explain why you made a decision, I think they appreciate, just being spoken to on the level. So that's one thing that goes a long way. I think the other thing is just letting people know that there are human beings on the other end. Yeah. That like, as much as people think that there's some nameless, faceless company that just, shoots video games into the...
makes the video game egg, and then the egg goes out.
Yeah, totally. Like letting people know, like, no, we're actual human beings. We too play the game.
We have good days and bad days.
Yeah,
we're Hanzo
we too
mains.
care about the game. And if we screw up, we're gonna fix it, or we're gonna try to fix it. I think that's important too.
On that note, we had the Bastion changes, and then they were reverted very quickly. Do you see that? Do you think that was a success, or a failure that you had to kind of fix them so quickly?
I think it was a success. I know there were people who will say that.
Well, I mean, that's the primary kind of, we told you about this type thing, right?
I think there will be people who say like, oh, this should have been caught when it was on the PTR, but I think our response time was quick enough. I think the most unfortunate part of the Bastion changes, if I had to sort of post-mortem with some hindsight, I didn't like that they happened right at the same time as a new season.
Right, I see.
And it was very disruptive for people who were in placements, and people take placements very seriously. So that part of it, I think we could have done
because you can't
better.
ever fix that, right? Like, even if it's only up for 6 hours, that's 6 hours of 25 million players doing their placements and having their games bad.
Even more so, and we've talked a lot about this on the development team, we really don't like patching right up against a new season either. And almost inevitably, a patch is going to land when a new season starts, and we're trying to figure out how to get those apart. I almost want to tell people, like, if we just patch, don't queue for competitive. Like, and it's terrible. Like, I mean, I could be fake about it and say like, no, the service is perfect and everything's going to be great, but the highest likelihood for instability is going to be right after a patch when stuff comes up. And
everyone wants to pick Sombra or the new Bastion or Orisa, and you delayed that for
and I even
reason.
worry more just if there's some game issue and if things are going to crash or whatever. I don't want somebody to lose progress in competitive because of a fault of ours. But that's an example of something that we're just going to try to work on and make better.
On the PTR at the moment is the kind of massive Lucio changes, probably some of the largest we've seen to a single character. How do you feel about those? How do you think they're going? And do you think that's probably the version that will go live?
I think some version like this will go live. I'm super excited about it. So right now, what we're seeing with Lucio is very tricky. So you have hands down, and we don't tune and balance the game entirely by the pro scene.
But he's the best character in the game as far as they're concerned.
Yeah, if you look at the pro scene in terms of the pick rate, he's at like a 96% pick rate. If you look at competitive play, like ranked play in Overwatch, he's one of the top picked characters as well. I think he's in the top 5 right now. So he's in almost every sort of serious competitive match of Overwatch. And when you talk about balancing him down to make him less of a must pick, it makes him even less fun to play. Over time, we've done a series of nerfs to Lucio that we feel makes him not feel very impactful. It's like, if you've ever played Lucio, you know that feeling of when somebody's like, oh, dude, I'm hurt. Come on, hit me with the heal song. And you like press the button. They're like, come on, hit me with the heal song. You're
Do you
like,
want to use it?
You're like, listen to it. Come on, it's going to take a little while.
I'm going to amp it up.
Yeah,
It's not as simple.
It doesn't feel that great.
Yeah.
So our goal with the Lucio changes, it's tricky too, because we're just straight up trying to nerf him and bring him down so he's not so must pick.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a lot of Lucio mains, and we want to make Lucio as fun as possible for those Lucio players out there. Or maybe there are people who would play Lucio more if he's more like what we're trying on the PTR. So we're trying to bring that radius in so he's not just healing the whole map all at once, and make him more active, that he has to get around and really actively heal and engage with the people. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but his healing radius, I think, was 30 meters before.
Yeah, it was gone from 30 to 20.
So,
yeah.
Diameter that puts him at like a 60 meters, from A to B sort of distance. The dojo in Hanamura, like point B of Hanamura, because we were doing a bunch of measuring when we were tuning Torbjorn's turret.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Like if you're on like that backstage by the point and you're looking at the upper balconies in that dojo, that's like 45 meters. So Lucio's 60 meters was covering
everything.
everything.
There was no way to be out of it.
Yeah. So hopefully, we'll see where the changes go. Right now on the PTR, we're seeing the dual feedback that I was talking about. One, he's totally broken, wickedly overpowered. What are you doing? And then the other feedback we're hearing is he's going to be totally useless and never used except in, only a dive comp, or actually no, not dive comp, murder ball.
Oh,
only
right,
a
okay,
murder
yeah.
ball is the only time you're going to see him, and he won't be played outside of that. So, we'll see.
We'll see when it hits the live.
I can tell you this, I have a lot more fun playing as Lucio with the changes, even though there's some nerfs in there.
I certainly have a lot more fun watching some people, particularly Stanky, play around with the new version. Were you playing a little bit of Titanfall before you put that version together? Because Titanfall has the best wall running I've ever seen in a game. Amazing. Yeah,
it feels absolutely, it's like the benchmark for how wall running movement should feel in a game. And all of their level design is like tuned around that wall run. So we played quite a bit of Titanfall. Titanfall 2 was, did you play it?
Incredible. Yeah,
it was fantastic.
Like probably my favorite single player campaign of all time. Until you guys make an Overwatch 1. I think there was a little bit of expectation from people for an April 1st event, and that didn't come about. How have you found the events and developing them and the speed of having to put them together and that sort of thing?
The events are probably our favorite thing to work on. I think we really rally the team around a theme. So sometimes it can be something, like, hey, it's winter theme, or, Halloween's happening, so we're going to do the Junkenstein thing. And then sometimes it can be around, more of like a fictional event, like, hey, we're going to do summer games and celebrate sports across the globe. So the events have been a lot of fun. We've heard the call that a lot of players want a non-real world tied event, meaning they want some sort of like set event in the Overwatch.
Rather than like a Christmas or Halloween.
Yeah.
Or whatever, yeah.
And we've been teasing some things. So.
Well, I wouldn't be able to let you go without asking about the April 12th stuff. Is there anything you want to? Just tell me, what is it? Look, it's fine. Just ignore the camera.
Just tell everything. The event is going to be, I think, something, when players see the event and play the event, I think they'll feel like we've been listening to their feedback. We've been hearing a lot of desire for more story. People want to know more about the story of Overwatch. They want to know more about the past of Overwatch.
Yeah.
I think they want to know more about what's going on between Omnics and humans in this world, and how do we get there. And I think a lot of that will be answered for them.
Fair enough.
And then I think Widowmaker players who have wanted a skin might be very happy.
They'll be pleased about this one. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. I guess it's probably more of a Michael Chu question, but what's it been like doing the story, particularly with Metzen leaving, and also you kind of had this graphic novel that was originally meant to come out and then it got cancelled. It felt sort of last minute, but assumedly it was kind of cancelled quite a while before it was announced. Has it been difficult to get the story out there? Has there had to been reworks and that sort of thing?
Well, missing Chris is something that doesn't go away or get less. In fact, we were really excited because Chris is the voice of Bastion. I'm not sure if you knew
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
It's the one character Chris voiced in Overwatch. And
Slight bit of voice modulation on that one.
A little bit, yeah, just a tiny bit. And we had to do some callbacks, so we frequently call all the Overwatch characters back.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So we did a callback, and we had Chris back in the studio, and it was just instantly, it's when you've seen one of your best friends and you haven't seen him for years, and he comes back, and we showed Chris all the stuff we were working on. We just took him through literally every new hero, every new map,
Sit right there,
every new event, and it was so cool getting all of his feedback on it. So there's no replacing Chris. Like, he's not the type of guy where it's just like, oh, Chris
just
is
get
gone.
another Chris Metzen, just bring him in.
Yeah. So my biggest hope, and no pressure to Chris, my biggest hope is someday he'll want to come back to us. But in Chris's absence, we still have a great story team. So obviously Michael is a fantastic writer. The whole Overwatch team is really invested in the story of what's going on. Arnold Sang, who's our assistant art director, and Bill Petrus, who's our art director, those guys are world-building guys as much as they are artists, so they're really helping to drive the story. And then we're really lucky to have a group that's called our Blizzard Animation group across the street. We call it Story and Franchise Development. And they're a group of writers, filmmakers, animators, directors who help us. Like, they're the group that builds the animated shorts. So we have this really great brain trust of storytelling surrounding the game. We also have our comics group as well. So I think that there's like enough sort of bench strength there that in the absence of Chris, while we'll never replace him, there's enough people who care about it and are driving it. The next comic that comes out, I think, is our best comic we've done yet. So I'm sure the fans will tell me if I'm wrong on that, but I've never been more excited about a comic as I am with the next one that's coming out very, very soon. Sooner than people realize.
Sooner than soon TM.
Sooner than soon TM.
Speaking of the comics, I suppose, there was the Christmas comic where it was revealed that Tracer had a girlfriend. Were you worried about the reaction to that at all, and how did you feel afterwards? Which seemed very positive to me anyway, like from what I saw.
We were, I'd be lying to say that we weren't worried about that comic, and we were worried, I'd say, for a number of reasons. So, one, we were worried about any sort of negative backlash that we would get for it. But I think more than that, and there were certain places where it was very tricky. We're a very global game.
Yeah, the Russia stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, there's certain countries where it's very challenging to talk about that sort of thing, up to and including like legal ramifications against us. So there's a little bit of trickiness there. But I think more than that stuff, or more than any like negative backlash that we were going to take, I think we were more worried about making sure that if we were going to tell that story, that we do it in a non-pandering, very natural way. We've been asked since day one, what are the relationships of our characters? And short of Widowmaker, who's sitting right over my shoulder here, she's the only one who her story directly tied into
who she was and the stuff you need to say about the character.
Significant other was, and we really wanted to stick to that, where it was important for us that we're not just checking a checkbox on some list here. Like, this is more about a person and representing who they are and what's natural and normal to them. So we wanted it to very much come off in a non-pandering way. So I think that was more of our concern than, is there going to be some negative backlash?
Because I mean, there always is, right?
Yeah.
Then you can't worry about that.
Well, there's so much noise. There's so much positive and negative. You just don't even know at a certain point.
Yeah.
So.
Back to the gameplay side of things, it feels like you guys have been targeting different characters for reworks, starting with Symmetra and then Bastion and then Lucio. So we spoke about this on the show slightly last week, but it'd be good to get your thoughts on it. Who else do you think is maybe ripe for that in the future? So one that I mentioned was Reinhardt, not because he's bad, but because he's so ubiquitous in a similar way to Lucio.
So Reinhardt's a tricky one. Reinhardt gets brought up to us often. And what's weird is even a lot of the people who keep talking about Reinhardt, like if you ask them, does he feel balanced? In terms of his abilities and his power level against other heroes in the game, he feels pretty balanced. And when you think about, like, let's talk about changing Reinhardt. Like, what if we nerfed his shield and cut the shield in half? Reinhardt without his shield is pretty much useless.
Yeah, it'd be like if you went, let's change Widowmaker, let's take away her sniper rifle. It's like, that's what she is.
There's not a lot that Reinhardt can do besides that shield. I mean, yes, a great Reinhardt is landing fire strikes. His hammer does a lot of damage, but only if you made a mistake and are positionally within Reinhardt.
Yeah, there isn't a lot of ways for him to get to you and do damage and not just die.
And charge is pretty much a death trap for Reinhardt. It's like a test to Reinhardt players. Like, should you press the button? Maybe not. But I think the reason that people talk about Reinhardt is his pick rate and his prevalence, in particular in the pro scene and in the competitive scene. Ironically, he's played more in the competitive scene than he is in the pro scene. The pro scene, if you're watching Apex in Korea, is seeing tons of Devo, Winston, Zarya, like they're doing all sorts of crazy dive comps, and they're not relying as heavily on Reinhardt. But the competitive scene, especially above, let's say, like gold skill rating, platinum skill rating, you're seeing Reinhardt, it feels like this must pick, kind of like Lucio is on the support side. And I think there's a desire for people to see more variety there. I would love it in the Reinhardt case. Can we solve it with other heroes? Can we solve it? Can we do some tweaks to Orisa? Where are we at with the other tanks that makes him less of a must pick? Sorry, there's a little fly in the area.
It's very interesting. He wants to know what you're doing.
He cares. He's a Reinhardt main. Sorry about it. We're not going to nerf you.
Yeah, you thought he'd be with Farah, but
so I don't know. I don't know if Reinhardt's really needs a rework so much as we just need to work on some of the other tanks and some of the other comps being more viable. Because when I think of his balance and his power level as an individual hero, doesn't feel wildly out of whack.
Yeah. I think a lot of that comes down to waiting to see how Orisa does specifically as well, right? Because they're in the same kind of zone. Similarly, the guys behind League of Legends have talked about how it seems like that they pick characters and they're like, this is what support should be like. They've got this suite of abilities and that sort of thing. And I think Reinhardt maybe is similar to that in that he is a tank and he can cover his team and that sort of thing. So I suppose Winston is a character that I think people thought needed a rework, and then you did one very minor tweak to him, and now he's actually seeing quite a lot of play.
Yeah.
Are you happy about that?
Yeah, we're really happy. I mean, we were watching Winston. Winston was a tricky one. He's the lowest pick rate hero. He's always been the lowest pick rate hero. When we put him at the very first BlizzCon.
Well, he's very similar to characters in other games. Everyone's got a moon-based
talking monkey scientist.
Yeah, scientists, these guys. It's just,
a trope at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
No, we actually saw it at the very first BlizzCon.
Oh, right, sure.
We had stats on that, and we thought because we thought the four characters, it was Reaper, Widowmaker, Tracer, and Winston were in the movie.
Right, okay.
We thought that the people at BlizzCon, BlizzCon 2014 would see that movie, pick those four heroes the most. And Winston was the least picked there. To this day, Winston is the least picked hero. But we were watching things like the Korean pro scene, and in particular, you have Miro, who is the world's most amazing Winston main. And we're seeing this potential in the hero that maybe that's not how he's getting played by others. And that doesn't mean just because, Miro, the super pro gamer is awesome with the hero, that the hero is fine. But I think it spoke more to the potential that we saw in the hero and saw that starting to get realized, that we weren't so quick on the draw to, just buff this hero. With that in mind, when we looked at the shield, it was actually a comment my wife said to me. My wife she's a better Overwatch player than I am, and she plays even more Overwatch than I do.
Number one tester, I mean.
Well, she said to me at dinner one night, she said, "You guys nerfed."
Sorry, that's a very good image. All right, look, I need you to deal with this.
Yeah. Well, it's every night at dinner we're talking about Overwatch, and I'm so lucky, right? That's the world that I live in. But she brought up a really good point. She said, "You guys nerfed Winston back when there was no hero limit."
Yeah, with stacking and stuff, right?
The stacking shields were driving everybody crazy. Have you really gone back and thought about it? And it just triggered in me. It reminded me of that moment. So the next morning I went in and talked to Jeff, and I just said, Jeff Goodman is our lead hero designer. I'm
just went to the mirror and said, "Listen."
Yeah, I talk about myself in third person. Jeff, if only I was in charge of Overwatch, what would I do? But I went to Jeff Goodman and I said, hey, my wife brought up a really good point last night. Have we thought about it? And he's like, "Oh yeah," and we just went back to it, and it's a really minor tweak, changing that shield cooldown or when it triggered. But I think it's made a big difference. And Winston mains really felt it. If you played a lot of Winston, you suddenly felt like you had this, because the shield enabled this engagement for you. And you could start to use it in more cases than you would previously. Like a lot of times you just use it to cover yourself and get out. But now it feels like you have a few more opportunities. I think I'll drop it on Zenyatta, here you go, buddy. I'll have another
to protect,
one.
individual
it won't be so long until I get the next one. Whereas before you were just it was part of your rotation, and you weren't going to give that up.
Yeah, you just dived in, pressed the button, pressed Q, it started hitting. So, and then of course that means you don't have to pick a Reinhardt, and then that's the kind of thing you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Where you're hoping that'll flow through.
I don't think Winston's going to be the Reinhardt replacement,
okay, sure.
But I think it would require full team comp change to get us there.
Yeah.
If everybody goes dive, then I think we're there.
Yeah.
Reinhardt's not great for that.
He can charge in, but he can't really stop.
Yeah. I was in a competitive match the other night. It was really fun because we had somebody very communicative, and he was sort of coordinating the team comp, and we did this Winston diva. I forget who our supports were. I think we had
supports don't matter that much.
Mercy and don't say that. They will hunt you down. We had Mercy and Lucio, and this guy was calling out targets, and we were all, and then we had Farah as well, and we're just all diving the target. And everybody was there every time, and it was extremely effective. And that's the type of strategy that wouldn't work with Reinhardt.
Do you worry a little bit about meta and people not finding the fun in the game because they're just like, okay, well, we have to play Reinhardt, Lucio, Anna, and then 3 characters that can shoot people, and they don't realize, if we play like this, it's super fun and it's really good.
Yeah, I do worry about it. I think sometimes as gamers, we put pain on ourselves. It reminds me of a conversation I had with Dustin Browder back when StarCraft 2 was in beta. And I am not a big RTS player, and I played a ton of StarCraft 2 beta, and I was playing the ladder, and it was super punishing because in beta, it was a very hardcore sort of...
Yeah, it was just all the guys that play Brood War, and then a few people that were lucky enough to have keys. And
which was me. I was the fodder. And I remember I was reading I think I was reading Team Liquid's site for build orders and all this. And I had lunch with Dustin, and I said, here's what I think the meta is. So I'm trying Terran, and I'm trying this build order. Do you think this is a good strategy, or are there other sites that you think I could be going to learn to be a better StarCraft player? And I remember him telling me, Jeff, your skill level, the people executing against that meta are at such a higher skill level that you're not...
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, you need to do what you're good at. He's like, make sure you scout a little bit. Make sure you're spending your money, simple stuff. You're spending your resources. Make sure that you're picking the right counters. That's what you should be doing. You shouldn't be trying to play at this pro level when you're not really there yet. And I think some of us, a lot of us are invested in that pro scene and watching that pro scene so closely. but realizing that we might not have the mechanical skill to do exactly what they're doing. And more often than not, I think most Overwatch players, contrary to what our fans believe, is not people diamond and above. Most Overwatch players should just play the hero that they're good at.
Yeah, and that they like.
And have fun.
Fair enough. All right, thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you.